Plus, there's 1,000 bajillion amazing benefits to matcha, high in antioxidants. It's great for your liver. It's just a wonderful. Chris is like, stop lying. It tastes like battery acid. It doesn't.
This is why I call it Kermit the Frog pee.
Welcome to the Clear Skin Chronicles, the podcast that takes you on a journey to uncover the secrets of achieving glowing, acne-free skin. We believe that knowledge is power, and by understanding the root causes of acne, we can create a solid foundation for long-lasting clear skin. I'm Katie Stewart, registered holistic nutritionist and founder of the Clear Skin Solution, where we help women just like you get to the root cause of their acne.
And I'm Chris Brown, registered holistic nutritionist and program director inside the Clear Skin Solution. Through functional testing, we pinpoint where the body's system imbalances lie, so we can dive deep into the acne clearing journey.
We work virtually with clients to clear up their skin from the inside out and have helped thousands of women worldwide regain their confidence. One of the absolute number one questions I get in my DMs and in comments, Chris, could you just guess what that one of the number one comment or questions is?
Does Chris do private coaching?
You want to know that is high up there. Yes, she does, everybody, in the Clear Skin Solution.
I'm totally kidding.
Yes, she does.
I can get, okay, so if you're asking me, then it's going to be either something to do with matcha or a debate between matcha and coffee.
It is, does coffee cause acne? I wanted to dedicate an entire episode to this because it is such a big topic. One, I think it might be one of our number one episodes because everybody wants to know, right?
Yeah.
Our audience really is like 27-year-old women to about 45. So we get a lot of those millennials. A lot of them are moms. They live on coffee. They're basically hooked up to an IV and they're like, oh, please God, no, don't tell me I have to give up my coffee in order to have clear skin. Mm-hmm. So we're breaking down an entire episode on the impacts that coffee has to skin, how, when to know when it's time to give it a hold, how to have it if you want to include it. We're breaking down all the nutrition tips right now. But before I start, I want everybody to know that Chris is a team coffee because she drinks coffee herself.
Total team coffee, like capital.
I'm team matcha. So I'm thinking that maybe today on Instagram, we should go and poll and see, are you team Katie matcha or team Chris coffee? Because if you listen to the podcast or follow me on Instagram, you know I love matcha.
It's not quite fair. I don't know if that's going to be a good poll.
Because I've created a cult?
Yeah, that's actually where I'm going with this. It's, I'm not front facing. So unless they're on the podcast.
You notice I'm wearing green today too, Chris?
Yeah, okay.
Green for matcha? Okay, so let's start it off.
I figure if I just keep sipping water, I can't say bad comments.
She can't make bad comments. So, and I want to say, I do love coffee. I don't have it often. I usually stick to decaf or have half a cup. If I'm out at a restaurant and, having brunch, I'll get a latte. So I'm not hating on the coffee. I do enjoy it. I worked in television for 14 years, and I was one of those people that had an IV hooked into my arm because I worked 16 hours a day. So let's really talk about caffeine's impact on cortisol, sebum production, adrenals, because it's not just its impact on sebum that can be impacting the acne. It's like a cascading effect in the body.
Right.
So the first thing I tell people is when they say, hey, Katie, does caffeine impact my acne? I say, well, it absolutely can, because caffeine stimulates, your cortisol production, which is that stress hormone. And the elevated cortisol levels can lead to an increase in sebum production. And sebum is that sticky, oily substance that clogs your pores and can result in breakouts. So that is the first way. Now, if we want to take that a step further, Chris, let's really talk about how is it impacting in the adrenals? How is it impacting the rest of the body? And then I want to go into additional symptoms.
This pains me. I think you you're doing trickery on me right now because I have to say it like it is. Okay, so I love coffee. We all know that. Clean, organic, Swiss water, whatever. I just want to put it out there. I do my due diligence. However, what's going to happen in these adrenals, it's going to overstimulate them. Especially, what's the first thing people go to? before water, before breakfast, before
You like
anything.
roll out of bed. And if you're my mother-in-law, God bless Janet, I'm pretty sure she doesn't even open up her eyes until she has a cup in her hand. I've seen it myself.
Yeah. And if you're the type of person where you're setting that coffee machine to brew at 6 because you're drinking at 6 with 3 seconds, I get it. Right. Like that's kind of the system of what it does. It makes us feel good. It makes us alert. It's delicious. Why wouldn't we want to
Delicious.
have it? Right. So what happens is before we even get, so obviously we have the cortisol, fine. But in the morning when you rise, cortisol is the hormone that allows you to rise. And when the first thing we're putting into and coursing through our veins is caffeine, it elevates that cortisol, stimulating it higher, faster. And by 10 o'clock, our cortisol production stops throughout the day, and then we slowly decline. So if you're pushing your body into a falsified cortisol alert, your body's going to say, oh, well, I don't need to make any. So watch around 10 o'clock in the morning when you're supposed to naturally stop making it, but you've already hit your first burnout.
Mhm.
You might be going for your second cup or Joe, or you know what? Katie said matcha's good, so I'm going to go try one of those. Something is a stimulant at that point, or you're craving sugar, right? These are the next things. So we have to look at really watching when we drink coffee, types of coffee, what we do, how's our lifestyle, the stress, because we do not want to be in adrenal fatigue.
And we're going to talk about those tips later on.
Yeah.
To like right now, I just want to talk about, how is it impacting the body? So, Chris, we
Mm-hmm.
talked about how it's impacting cortisol, how it's impacting the adrenals. And for acne sufferers, so many of their adrenals are struggling as it is. So many are dealing with cortisol imbalances. They're, like oftentimes high anxiety, mood swings, a lot suffer with depression. They are just a lot of them are an overstimulated mom. They just got a ton of stuff going on. So we now need to look at that bigger picture of, okay, outside of the cortisol, what else is going on in the body? Because it's also going to be impacting that nervous system, right? Where it can be overstimulating our body's fight or flight response.
For
And if
sure.
you're already somebody that's living in fight or flight and never comes out of this, it's really not going to be great for your nervous system. So it's going to increase your anxiety. It's going to make you more jittery
Oh,
is the
no,
word I was going
I'm
for.
enjoying this. I'm just sitting by watching the show.
Jittery, everybody.
Jittery's the word. Uh-huh.
But it can even, impact mood swings, not just because of the caffeine, but because how it impacts your blood sugar. You can get a blood sugar swing after the caffeine high starts to wear off. And then when we're looking at the bigger picture of the acne sufferer, they come in feeling anxious, mood swings, blood sugar issues, overstimulated.
Yep.
So the caffeine is just really impacting so many different areas, which is just creating this giant snowball that starts to pick up steam the faster it goes.
100%. And it doesn't, again, mean that coffee is bad. We're going to give you these things that you can kind of help mitigate it. When you are dealing with any ailment, any disease, any disorder, any inflammatory condition, the last thing we want to do is pump more adrenal hormones. What are that's adrenaline? Because you need to get out of here. You need to book it. You're in danger. You're leaving. There's a fire, whatever it is. Because these can directly impact your sex hormones. The last thing your body needs are sex hormones, essentially, right? We don't need to procreate. It's the last body system because the body's like, well, I think circulation needs to be up in there. And oh my gosh, the endocrine, we probably need to do that. So all of these body systems are vital, like, what do I want to say? Like the vital body responses, they take precedent. Procreation is more of the, oh, that'd be nice to have. It's a novelty to the body. So the body can go and steal from these sex hormones. Essentially, it's actually not true, but I'm just going to use it for a preference of what we're doing here. So they could go and steal or alter or block that process. And now we're shifting out those sex hormones. Essentially, at the end of the day, it's the inflammation because that caffeine becomes a stressor. The stressor promotes the inflammatory response in the body. bam, next thing you know, you're like, oh, I don't know what to do. I got all these signs and symptoms. And like you said, that cascade effect, it's not just the coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just the supplements that's going to fix or take away the coffee that's going to fix it. Because by the time we've gotten to that full-on symptom like an acne, the body's like, help me.
It's, yeah, just taking out coffee alone is oftentimes not going to be enough to fix the damage that's been done to the adrenals, the nervous system, the hormones.
Yeah.
It really has to come from a comprehensive approach, because I know a lot of people, you know, they're drinking coffee because it gives them that energy boost. Like, I've absolutely done it where I'm like, okay, I need a little energy pickup today. I'm going to have half a cup of coffee. Like, absolutely been there. But if we're, you know,
half a cup is an energy picker for you?
No, literally, I did it today. I had half a cup of coffee,
like
literally this much, because if I have any more, I get jittery. My nervous system, I feel nauseous.
Yeah.
But I also like the taste of coffee. And, you know, I have 2 little boys. So, and I had a lot of projects today. I'm trying to make up excuses, but I did have half a cup. Do I do that every day? No, like maybe I do it once or twice a month.
And you know your limit.
And I know my limit. I know I can have half a cup. I have it with coconut milk. It has to come after I've eaten something. I can't have it on an empty stomach. Like, there's a lot of regulations and rules in place for me to have a coffee.
You say there's a lot of regulations and rules, and I start to, because I know you, and I'm like, oh, that's just not coffee. That's just not coffee, everybody. I'm just letting you know, Katie's very regimented.
I'm a regimented human.
Here's the thing. Those skin flares, what happens is, think about caffeine and adrenaline and things that are surging those hormones through our veins to get us out of a situation, to calm us down, these types of things. They increase that circulatory effect. So now we might have facial flushing. We might have redness. We might have irritation. We all know that because I have an autoimmune, a histamine response for me is quite normal if I drink coffee. Not all the time. And I'm like, now I'm so used to it that I don't even pick it up anymore. You know, so it's not always that we're going to pick up on these signs and symptoms that coffee is the issue. So like, let's just back up a little bit. If you tell me you love coffee, or you need it to go to the bathroom, or because it's a diuretic, or you need it to get through your day, or you need it because for the safety of all mankind, it must be in your veins.
Are you talking about yourself?
No.
Are you talking about yourself?
You know how joyful I am, Katie? How joyful. With a capital J, okay? I think I'm joyful, but hey, I got
hold back on that. After your coffee. Yeah, you're one of the people I would prefer not to speak to before you've had your coffee.
See, I am usually up between 5 and 6. And you know who I communicate the most with? Paige.
Because Paige is up at 5 or 6.
Paige is up at 5 or 6. And Positive Pam is just spewing out all these things. I would say Positive Paige, but it's honestly Positive Pam because she needs a new name. Because like,
she is positive at the crack of dawn. You're like, yo, you need to chill, dude. Like, she's sending me. Do you want to talk about cortisol? This is at 6 o'clock in the morning. She's an Energizer bunny.
Today is a beautiful day. Just go air kiss everything. And I'm like,
she sends us a motivational quote, and we're like, Paige, can you just not for 5 seconds?
After 10 o'clock, okay? Tone that down. And it's not because we don't love that environment, but it's like, I think the world's on fire because I have 45 messages, 3 from Paige, and she wants to get going because she's wired without coffee. And I'm like, okay, that's one I didn't need, right? So when we look at the whole schematic of everything and how we want to, and how we look and we need and we love, then I would say that caffeine, regardless of that, if you're using anything for that purpose, then we need to look at what's happening in the body and why, because that is now a Band-Aid and it will be a trigger, 100%.
Absolutely.
Right?
And like, we're not saying that, you know, if you're dealing with acne and you have all these things and you have to take out coffee, it's not a forever thing. As you can see, like Chris drinks coffee, I'll have it here and there. I used to have acne. So like, we're definitely going to be giving some tips on how you can be adding it in or how you can be having it. But a couple more things, right, is, you know, so many of us drink coffee because it gives us an energy boost, but many of us know that all it does is it's basically just stealing from later in the day, because you're going to get an energy crash later in the day, leaving you feeling more drained because it's overstimulating your adrenal glands, you know, releasing more cortisol. And over time, like this constant demand on the adrenals can lead to adrenal dysfunction. You know, and let's add in other life stressors. Like we're not just blaming it all on coffee, of course, but remember, like it's the cumulative effect of its compounding of all of these things that we're doing in our day. So when we get that roller coaster of the energy highs and lows, it's impacting our mood. It's disrupting our body's natural stress responses. It's going to make us harder to function, and it's going to worsen issues like anxiety and acne, which are like, I think we would be hard pressed to find an acne sufferer we've worked with that didn't have some level of anxiety. Like I shouldn't say all of them. There is a good amount that come in. They're like, you know what? No, my moods are stable.
No, I'm going to say all. I'm going to be bold. And why?
You're going to say be bold?
I am. I'm bold.
Okay, you be bold.
Because I'm a capital
I'm more conservative
J joy.
Just because you don't go on Instagram and I do. So
because I'm a detoxer of social media. I truly.
But you're missing out on all the reels I'm sending you, Chris. There's so many funny ones.
I will survive. I'm a survivor.
You're going to start playing Destiny's Child.
I might, you never know.
I love that song. I listen to it regularly.
Why I'm going to say so bold where everybody does have a setting of anxiety is because to me, it's the what ifs. And we see it constantly. What if it doesn't work? I've tried everything. Why? Why is this better? Why will this work? You know what I mean? And it's all of these what ifs, like way far-fetched into the future. So if we look at anxiety as a whole, just under that schematic of constantly fast forward thinking, you're not in the present. So yeah, can you now say, if I said that is the clinical diagnosis of we're just, oh my gosh, my heart rate's up and I'm sweating, and it's like writing an exam or meeting a person on a first date. Clammy palms, like we feel sick. I don't know why we do that to ourselves. I'm like, just send me your application. I'll review it. And, we'll hook up. We probably should set that up. But that anxiety, Katie, 100% of clients come in with a onset of check boxes that would clinically in the Western field give them a level of anxiety.
And you want to know what? Recently, I can't remember who I heard say this, but they said that anxiety really just is fear of the future. And I was like, oh crap, that is so true. Because when I start thinking about my own anxiety, like I struggle with it quite severely, as Chris Brown knows. I'm like, oh my gosh, it is the fear of the future of like these future things. So I know that was a sign of like a kind of a sidebar, but I think that was a really
but we have to sidebar. So I'm big on the anxiety, and it might have been me. I'm not sure, but I coach like that. So anxiety is not true. What? And when we get into it,
like it's not a whole nother episode.
No, I know, but I want to show you how it works with the caffeine. Okay, so if we're already in that state of what if, and now it's like I'm going to sip my coffee and I'm going to get ready and I have to get my lunch ready and I have to get the kids out the door, or even if you just have to get yourself out the door, right? It's time pressure. So that didn't work. Oh my gosh, I didn't have the ingredient to make that juice, whatever it is. Oh my gosh, I didn't take that out for meat. And now we're sipping the coffee.
Now my anxiety is getting worse just listening to that list for you.
Right. Okay. So anxiety is fear. So go into the fear. Go into the fear. Why?
Chris, we're not here for Katie's therapy session today. Nobody needs to hear that.
I know we do not have enough time.
Nobody needs
to
hear that.
As I'm talking, you can just go into Katie land. So when we look at all that and now we're sipping it, can you see how we're perpetuating? And because we're moving and because we're hustling, we might not feel the shakes. We might not feel, or we might mistaken those heart palpitations for something else. But that coffee, that caffeine is just that boom, where the dominoes start rolling down. So it's really that overstimulation. And here's a good percentage, like 97% of people that come in the Clear Skin Solution say it's hormone related at one point. And I'm like, okay.
It's just my hormones, Chris.
Cortisol is a hormone. So if you're drinking caffeine and you have, I'm going to say, yeah, here they're thinking sex hormones. But if your cortisol, if you're pumping it and you cannot metabolize it because somewhere down that line, that little scale is not working, it's not there for you, then we perpetuate that psychological issue of more anxiety, because a physiology response is stress is only toxic if we don't outplay it. However, we wait for the caffeine to wear off, and what do? Most people will do what? another one.
Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, I need another coffee. Ooh, I need another.
Or they say things like this, oh, well, it's only an espresso. Or, and I use organic. And so now we're justifying. And I'm like, keep talking. You are giving me a world of coaching here. I love it, right? So no, it's not about come in and rip everything out. It's understanding the body systems and how they're codependent on that caffeine. This is why you feel sick. This is why you go through detox or withdrawal or headaches or grumpy. Oh my God, mood swings after you come off of a caffeine. No.
Yeah, you
book
should.
yourself into a hotel.
You need to like go like into the wilderness, get a yurt, like a something.
Get a stick, bang it on the ground. I don't care, but like, don't come to my house.
If you're detoxing, you got to do it over there. But another thing to consider is also its impact on sleep, right? Because so many of our clients also come in struggling with sleep. And poor sleep is a huge factor in not just our skin health, but our body's overall health. Because we need to look at sleep as just important as eating food, drinking water, sleep. These three are best friends. Yet we so often we're like, oh no, let's just skip over the sleep. But when we're looking at, drinking caffeine, especially anytime after like noon, I know we would push it probably to like 11 a.m. But if you're drinking caffeine in the afternoon, the early evening, this can absolutely be disrupting your sleep cycles, making it much harder to fall asleep and even get into that deep, REM, restful sleep period as well. And when you're sleeping, you have to remember this is when your body is self-healing. This is when your body is like, okay, I don't have to be, go and use my energy elsewhere for working and driving and doing all of the kid stuff.
Yes.
I get to just go and clean house. I'm taking the broom out. I'm getting the all-purpose spray. Your body really starts to clean house. That's what I think it's doing. I think it's doing a little.
I just love how you said all-purpose spray. Like,
well,
so I would like to spend 5 minutes, because that's probably my tolerance, in your head.
No,
one day.
Do that.
Just 5 minutes. No, okay.
It's scary in there. It's scary.
I believe it,
as my husband will attest to. But your skin, your skin can also start to regenerate at night. And so if you're having crappy sleep, this is going to be less opportunity for your skin to be repairing. And we also know, Chris, what happens to your cortisol when you sleep?
Well, it's supposed to go down because melatonin comes up. So every hormone in your body works together. So as cortisol is pumping, insulin has to come out to kind of chill it out. So now we might have blood sugar instability, and now you have sebum production, and now, oh my gosh, and maybe it's all from the coffee, but we won't tell coffee because we love it. And vice versa, if we're not building up that melatonin, or how you're throwing a cycle off, and it's not just exclusive, but this is the coffee show. So is before bed, around 7, you're like, I'm tired. And then all of a sudden you're like, 8:30, 9 o'clock, pop the champagne. Who's ready to
Let's
party?
do this.
Woohoo! Right? This is your hormones going, I'm not where I'm supposed to be. Something went off. So go back through your day, do a little chronological thing. Maybe it's hydration for the people that don't have caffeine. That's another little nugget I want you to be cognizant of. So, and not only that, but caffeine, specifically coffee, depletes magnesium, and magnesium is calming and relaxing.
Magnesium. I buy the big 240 magnesium bottles from CanPrev. I like keep it in it's basically a first aid kit item.
Yeah. My youngest, 13. And she's like, okay, good night, mama. I love you. And I'm like, okay. She goes, yeah, I'm up to 2 magnesium tonight because I just had a day. I'm like, sweet mother of God, who trained you? Right?
Trained you.
Yeah. So and she's just a wee nugget, but she also appreciates this is what it is. Now, I do want to just preference something, because I said I want to spend a couple minutes in your brain. So myself and my eldest daughter were definitely neurodivergent. We process differently. We do different things. It's if I make her a mini, it's more of like an ice oat latte where I'm controlling the caffeine and no sugars and stuff like that. Her body will calm down at night. My body also calms down.
You're saying like if I had a coffee in the evening, I would be up.
No, not in the evening. So what I'm saying is, no, it has to be no, hex no. I can't do it after 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock in the morning.
I know, I was like, Chris, didn't we not just talk about we can't have coffee after?
I don't mess around with that cortisol timeline of 10. I'm not messing around. I'm not getting another jolt. I'm not messing around with my hormones because melatonin will suffer. What I'm saying is when I do the right practice in with my coffee, because I'm neurodivergent, I would be coined with ADHD. So instead of taking something like a Ritalin or something like that, I use coffee sometimes. Not all the time. It's not, sometimes I don't even have a full cup. Some days I don't even do it. If my daughter's having real stress of a period or she's having the lack of concentration, sometimes I will do the coffee. It's like a reset for her. But I'm talking severe neurodivergence. Oh my gosh, if I had it at 2:00, I'd be like, I'd be at 2:00 in the morning. Hey, Katie, what are you doing? You want to talk?
Like, you know, my husband, Frank, obviously, he's one of those people that could have like 4 espressos at 11 and go right to bed. And I'm like, yo, I'm going to be out for 6 days. Just a heads up.
How do you even?
This man can sleep anywhere. I've actually seen him fall asleep standing up in a club before. Like, he has this.
Is
like,
it his company? Is it his company?
It must be. He has a gift of sleep, but he's one of those people that can drink coffee at any time of the day and it doesn't impact him.
And I think that's part of it too, right? We need to see how the body's metabolizing things. We need to see where somebody's. Yeah, that's kind of true.
And all the women listening, like, yeah, I know.
Steve can sleep anywhere, and like he can be like, just let me digress for a second. He can be like, I'm not tired. He comes to bed and he's snoring within 30 seconds. And
30 seconds.
I'm like,
you want to know why? It's because they don't have the brains like we do, where we're like, oh my gosh, did you pick up the kids? Did you pay the bill? You had to take the dog to the vet. Did you book that? And they're just like, I wonder if we should get a bigger TV.
Sleep. Yeah.
Sleep.
And Steve will say that. He's like, why are you worrying? He goes, you can deal with it tomorrow, which is total facts. They don't process it. They're saying, they're like, you are so silly. Why are you doing that?
Must be nice being a man, you know?
But yeah, no, that stress, the mood swings, anxiety, right? Hormonal fluctuations. Then again, that sebum production, the inflammation, that you're getting signs. Look at your face. Are you starting to get red or hueing, right? When somebody has a headache, sometimes caffeine, they'll use it to vasodilate.
I've done that before.
Yeah, so they can get circulation in. And I'm like, okay, do that and pump it with this supplement and do this. It's a bit of biohacking to buy time versus, say, an Advil, which again, in 2 hours, you're pumping more, right?
Yeah, that's my first, like if I have a really bad headache or a migraine coming on, not only will I drink water, obviously, because it's usually that, but I'll also have like, again, a half a cup of coffee just to take that edge off.
All of this is the compounding effect to acne. So we're not saying it's the caffeine, and we're not saying it's Frank, and we're not saying, I'm definitely not saying it's Frank. Maybe I'll throw in Steve under the bus, but
yeah, we'll throw Steve under the bus.
Here's the things, by the time you get to those signs and the symptoms, why we may ask you to come off that caffeine is because there's so much static at this point, and you have a cascade list of symptoms that we need to stop the insults and stop the stressors so that your body can process its own chemical reactions without alteration.
I got another thing that we got to add in.
When you say stuff like that, I feel like you should show note me because I never know where you're going.
I got really excited when I was like, oh my gosh, we forgot to put this on our list of reasons to talk about it. Is, Chris, how many clients that we work with are under eaters where they don't eat enough food in the day and they don't get enough physical calories in their body in the day?
Oh,
that's all you need to say.
Not even just coming in. However, when we go into a therapeutic protocol, there's some kind of precondition of a deprivation, and we're like, eat more food, please.
Eat more food.
3 words.
That's a whole nother episode, though. But what I am getting at, you know where I'm going with this?
Yep, exactly.
Is so many women will have coffee as a breakfast. Coffee is not a meal. I'm just going to put it out there, everybody. Coffee is not a meal. Please don't egg my house. Please don't slash my tires.
Not even if you put full fat coconut milk or MCT or anything.
Don't be saying, but I'm adding things to it. It's not a meal. And what happens is now we're staving off our hunger cues and we're not eating until 2 p.m. And now we're impacting our cortisol and our blood sugar and all of these things even more because we're surviving on coffee all day and our body doesn't have the fuel it needs to function.
Yep.
And then I know you're going to go into, well, what about intermittent fasting? Here's the thing.
No. No, I don't like to touch that one.
Here's the thing about can intermittent fasting be good in the right health instances? Absolutely. There's so many health issues or health benefits in the right conditions.
Right.
However, for the clients that we work with, we never recommend intermittent fasting. I should say never, but the 99.9% of the time, we're going to say no to intermittent fasting while they're working to clear up their skin. Because when you're looking at intermittent fasting and you're dealing with acne, your cortisol is already impacted, your hormones are already unstable, you're already in a dysfunctional state. We're adding in the intermittent fasting and then breaking the fast with a coffee and then not eating till 2 p.m. is going to make you feel so much worse.
Mm-hmm. I am not even going to add to that because you know how I feel about that with acne.
Mm-hmm. And there's a massive difference in intermittent fasting as a man and intermittent fasting as a woman with the coffee.
Yeah, they have some really good benefits in life, don't they?
For sure. Like men, when they intermittent fast, maybe the coffee can help with their focus, their energy, their fat burning, without disrupting too much of their hormonal balance, in a good amount of men. But we have to remember, women are not just smaller men. Like we are different creatures. Our bodies work differently. Our hormones are different. So if you're an acne sufferer, I would not recommend intermittent fasting. Is that to say you can never do it? No. But like when we work with our clients, we don't recommend the intermittent fasting and then just surviving on coffee all day.
Mm-hmm. But we walk everybody through that. Anything we do is just not and stop now.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. Let's evaluate what we have. Let's evaluate what we use. When we run out of it, what's an alternative? Everybody works hard for the money, and we understand that. And what money is a big cortisol, adrenaline like spike, because it seems no matter what, every time I go to the grocery store, I come out with less and I pay more. I do this and I pay more. Don't even get me started on the cost of dance for 6 dances.
I know, you just told me the cost of your dance and I was like, yo, that is
hex no.
It's like rivaling hockey.
So like there's no way I'm like doing all this. So if we want to assist with the mood swings and that anxiety like behavior, as I explained it, that what if we want to look about, let's support the hormones. I'm on camp with you, sex hormones and other hormones. If we want to reduce the inflammation, if you're serious about those breakout reductions, because all of this plays confidence, right? All of this plays a role in confidence. So that to me just goes after my heart. So to build all of this is to understand the triggers. And this is why we call it that layer effect, is we kind of pull back the curtains nice and slow so that you can get comfortable. And then we assess it. How many clients, when they do avoid the coffee?
Oh my gosh.
How many
all
say,
of them, basically.
How many people say, or like we have people message us years later and they're like, I've never gone back. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll enjoy a matcha, or like you said, like if I go out, I'll have a. So it's not an all or nothing.
Yeah. And so many clients, they're like, oh my gosh, I never thought I would be someone that could not have a coffee in the day. And I act like once I, detox it from my system, I have more energy. I have more focus. I'm sleeping better. I don't think I'll ever go back to coffee. Katie, I'm definitely having a matcha. That's how I create my cults, Chris. That's
oh my God. See, she's pre-polling. No, I know what you're doing. You are culting right now.
That is to say, they're like, I don't feel the need to have a coffee. I have a coffee because I like the experience. They're like, I actually drink decaf. I only have it once in a while. So it's really incredible once you get to the other side and, you've repaired a lot of your body systems. You don't need that coffee to make it through the day. You don't need it for the energy.
What you need is a system to learn how to do it properly so that you don't go through horrific withdrawals. But if you're the type of person that says, I am not switching my exercise routine and I am not taking coffee out of my, okay, we can absolutely work around that. Absolutely. Here's the thing. Then I really need to ask you, are you ready? Are you committed? So always come back to that.
Yeah.
Because that's a stress response too, right?
Yeah, but where, I want to clear my skin, but I'm not giving up coffee. I'm not changing how I work out. I'm not giving up dairy. I'm not stopping drinking alcohol, but I still want my clear skin. I'm like, Okay.
I eat out 6 times a week because I'm too busy. Like, we've heard it all. Some people super successful.
Mm-hmm.
Some people super successful when they start to see, when they start to even do a little bit of those changes, and they're like, oh my gosh, I never thought, okay, I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that whole I'm not really means I'm scared because I'm not sure that I trust myself and or the process and
Mm-hmm.
or that it's going to work. Back to anxiety. See, we
Mm-hmm.
can pull it out. It's really just aligning yourself with somebody that has a really strong methodology that understands the I'm nots and what they
Oh
really
yeah.
mean.
The I'm nots are huge. But one thing I wanted to pull in before we forgot, Chris, was what are some markers, that we're looking for alongside the licensed clinicians on the HTMA when it comes to, okay, coffee's not going to be such a great idea for this person?
I'm going to look to see maybe perhaps if we have an acidic like behavior. So calcium, magnesium, strontium, and barium, what's going on there, right? I don't need all four, but there's certain patterns in there. We're going to look at sodium and potassium because sodium, potassium, hello, vitality. This is your stress-like response. I often say to people, do you want to talk about your stress or do you want me to tell you what I see about your stress?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I don't have, again, we don't read them. The great thing is, and I mean, I'm trained and I teach it. When I know what sodium and potassium do inside the cells, I know what it doesn't do when it's in deficiency, either high or low.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people sit in burnout. And I say, oh, okay. I said, all right. When the weekend comes and you get to be free, you don't have any work and all this stuff, are you like, leave me alone? Let me hibernate. They're like, yeah, yeah. I'm like, well, welcome to burnout. This is
Mm-hmm.
your body showing you it wants to rest, not that you're lazy. That dust is going to stay there till Sunday as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, yeah. And you know what? And I say, okay. And then do you have a coffee? Yeah. Okay. And then from there, well, and then, I'll kind of get up and I'll do some things and I'll have another coffee. I just relax. There is nothing in that statement about relaxing because we're using the caffeine to stimulate.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just something, right? Oh, sodium, magnesium, but that's the adrenals, and I want to get into it because that's just a whole lot of sexy.
That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
So now I want to dig into, what are some help if you choose to, whether you're an acne sufferer that's cleared up their skin and want to bring it back in, you want to experiment with, okay, well, can I have it in a healthier way? Let's talk about healthier ways to drink coffee. And then if you're someone that's like, nope, I want to, take it out. I want to see how I'm feeling. What are some alternatives and how we can even like detox essentially from the coffee? So let's start with healthier ways to
I
drink
knew you
the
would
coffee.
weave matcha into this. I know where this is going to, one of these is
Obviously.
going to go here. Ugh. Okay, let me talk about how to enjoy coffee healthy since I am team coffee.
She is team. I'll let you do this one. I'll let you do
Okay.
it. I'll have some water.
So I'm going to tell you my wish list, fair?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think I'm just going to give it out and then you're going to toggle. One, don't cold turkey. The worst thing we can do. We don't cold turkey. Limit. First, start limiting the amount, right?
Oh, we're talking about how to detox first.
No, not detox. I'm just saying how we can still enjoy it, but
okay.
I'm just
You were like, let's eliminate. I'm like, Chris, we're not at the detox part yet.
Oh no, I'm just saying we can even just start to reduce it so that we can start to see how our day goes. I am all about self-awareness, intuitive like, right? So I don't want it out because I want you to enjoy your coffee. I want you to start becoming intuitive to say, okay, I drink 16 ounces. I'm going to go to 14 ounces. Let me do that for a few days. Let me see how I feel. That's even,
right.
You could use that for detox methods too. I love it.
Because no one's drinking an 8-ounce cup of coffee in the morning. Like I watched my husband today fill up his Yeti mug and that thing has like 20 ounces. And I'm like, are you pouring the whole pot in? Because that's like 6 cups of coffee right there, bud.
Poor Frank, right? Frank needs like,
you want to what? He doesn't ask for much. So I let him have his coffee.
Exactly. So there's just that. So self-awareness and monitoring first before anything. Okay, fine. Please, when you wake up, have water. Everybody gets up. They probably go to the bathroom because why? You have to pee. I already know you have to pee. So have some water. Start drinking your water till you get downstairs and you start your processing and your routine before even the coffee's made. You can get through an easy cup of water at that point. So we're already now hydrating.
Mm-hmm.
right? And then, please, 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 please eat breakfast with your coffee or immediately following.
Mm-hmm.
This is the only beverage that I'm like, please do it because of the caffeine effects. It just really kind of slows that down.
Don't do it on an empty stomach. Coffee on an empty stomach is not a good idea. We want to be having a food in our system, that protein, fiber, fat, to really help reduce the cortisol, the blood sugar, and get that stress-induced crash.
What about a half and half? Please just don't jump to decaf.
Yeah, you'll feel terrible.
I don't know if you're going to feel terrible. You're going to be like, this is a waste. This is just a waste. Like, why did I wake up this morning for this? I know, because I've done it. So we all know I love Kicking Horse, and there's no endorsement for anybody.
Love Kicking Horse.
Kicking Horse has a half and half, so half decaf, half. So it's already done. It's not like you're marrying them and you've got to do this big fandangle like chemistry lab experiment in your kitchen. It goes everywhere. You can get adaptogens in them like ashwagandha and reishi. Ashwagandha, I'm going to say this for another podcast, but I am not a big proponent of ashwagandha if we're already stressed out, because it can kind of rev sometimes. So you really need to know your body. Other thing, what we're trying to do right now is stabilize.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can enjoy your cup of joe between 9 and 10, when cortisol's already like hitting the top end, way better. So think about having your breakfast. Now you're eating. So you've already have a process to really help your body. Protein, fat, and fiber, anti-inflammatory. Now you're drinking your cup of coffee. Now it's closer to the end of that cortisol cycle. How in the world is your body not loving you at this point?
Mm-hmm. And let's add some healthy fat to the coffee, like a little coconut oil, a little MCT oil.
Mm-hmm. Full fat. Yeah, absolutely.
Coconut milk, like a full fat. I prefer a full fat coconut milk myself.
Mm-hmm. I just recently started switching to something else because I was like getting bored, and that's okay. You can kind of mix it up. There's an oat almond mix. It's by Container. I'm not going to tell the brand because I don't want people like running to that brand.
But so they don't sell out and you don't get your coffee.
I use such a minute amount, and it only has 4 ingredients. But it has such a minute amount, and it's 10.5% fat.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because fats and sugars, fats slow down that process. So I'm going to use every body mechanism I can through nutrition, through processing, through time management, all of these things to get the best overall achievement. Fair?
And then the next one would be, you could switch to decaf. So for me, if I have a coffee, it's going to be decaf. I'm on the same as Chris, where I like Kicking Horse. It's a Canadian brand. It's from BC, right? It's a West Coast brand.
I don't even know that. I don't know.
I could be lying.
I like the names, like Three Sisters.
Yeah, they have good names for their coffee. My husband really likes it. But what I love about Kicking Horse is their decaf is a Swiss water process. So what's really important to know about decaf coffee is conventional decaf goes through basically a chemical decaffeination bath, which is not going to be ideal if we are dealing with a sluggish liver and toxicity and hormonal imbalances. So we want to make sure that we are getting a Swiss water Swiss water process decaffeination. It'll say it on the bag. And another component is opt for an organic coffee. Coffee is such a heavily sprayed crop for pesticides. So you would just be drinking a cup of pesticides. And we know pesticides are impacting your gut health. They're impacting your detox organs. They're impacting your hormones. So just having that healthier quality coffee could be a much better alternative.
Yeah, I like it. I think, right there, you're setting yourself up for some great success. And the last one, the only one I would add is set a time limit. We already know 12 is a hard cutoff because we shouldn't be drinking it after the noon, because your body actually does its own like little cleanup, and there's things going on around noon as well. But set a time limit. I don't drink coffee after 10:30 as an example. And you look and it's 10:35. To hold yourself accountable is, I have to do it tomorrow because I've missed my window. And that's how you hold yourself accountable to implement these changes. If you're like, well, it's only 5 minutes, right?
I was trying to think of another, I buy Kicking Horse so often that I don't really look for other brands. Like there's so many amazing brands of coffee out there that you can opt for. I know like my husband really likes to get the Balzac's organic coffee. They make an organic line now. So my husband really likes that one. There's really high end coffee brands where you can get, like, you can even find coffee brands that have the no pesticide residue, right? You'll get the hardcore bulletproof cult drinkers.
Yeah.
I think is it that brand in the States called Purity? That's like the mold free coffee. Cause again, we can go down the rabbit hole and start talking about mold on coffee beans. That's a whole another episode.
This is why organic is very important, because there is processes in play too.
Organic, mold free. Look for these words on the packaging.
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's move into, if you're like, hey, you want what? I want to get rid of the coffee. So we're going to quickly talk about how you detox and then some coffee alternatives as well. So,
okay,
Chris, you do the detox. I'll do the alternatives because I know you're going to hate on them.
I don't hate herbal tea. I just hate the stuff that looks like Kermit the Frog's pee. So, okay. So how we detox again? So that system, like I said, where you start to slowly reduce, you can do that. You change your ritual, meaning if you chiming, if you drink something warm in the water, you drink the water. Sometimes I'll juice for periods of time. When I juice, I don't even want coffee. It's like, right? So we have to change your systematic everyday processes in order to not want something.
Because it's the experience of drinking a coffee that a lot of people love.
Yes.
Right?
So that's one. Yeah, you can reduce it. You can go alternating. We're going to put the boundaries. This is how we start to detox it, right? I rather you put a whole bunch of whole foods in first than before you rip out that coffee, because we need to balance it. If your breakfast, and we don't do a cup of cereal anyways, I don't know why 3 cups is on the box. It's because, no, I'm not. It's because it's all sugar. So that with a coffee, and no wonder people feel like garbage.
Or, going through Starbucks and getting a coffee and a croissant, or hitting up Timmy's and getting a bagel or a donut in a coffee.
So I'd love to see proteins in there and with the coffee, because then your body feels a little more satiated and it's not prone to that next cup of joe and like all of these different things. That's all I'm saying. It's just, if we're going to start going through that detoxification, increase magnesium foods while doing it, right? We know it depletes it, and allow the process to play out. I will tell you, you probably don't feel great for 72 hours. So water needs to go up. Not only that, book yourself a massage. Book yourself a massage at about 24 to 28 hours post stopping coffee. You will feel like a whole new person. You're going to feel sick, maybe, depending on how long you've been doing it, depending on how many coffees you do.
And I personally don't recommend going cold turkey if you're drinking 4 cups a day, going down to 0. Start easing it back. If you drink 4 cups, go to 3 for a few days, then go to 2. Start weaning yourself off of the amount of coffee, and then you could switch to a half calf. Have that for a few days, and then switch down to a decaf for a few days. Like, really ease yourself off the caffeine, because you're gonna go through like the bad headaches and all of those things with the coffee withdrawal.
I mean, fine, if you want me to say it, you could even throw every other day. You could do Kermit the Frog pee.
So we've detoxed from coffee. Let's say we want an alternative. Because for me, when I stopped having coffee in the morning, I needed to swap it out, because it was the experience of drinking something warm in the morning that I loved. So
because
obviously,
you created a habit.
Because you created a habit. It's part of my day, something I look forward to. So for me, what I have instead of coffee is matcha. Yes, it still has caffeine in it, but what's interesting about matcha is it also contains the amino acid L-theanine, which really helps create the alert calm. So with coffee, you're getting a hard and fast spike and crash. But with matcha, alongside having L-theanine naturally in it, it creates this, sustained energy, and you're not getting that hard and fast spike. So you're not getting as big of an impact on your cortisol that way. And it's about the amount of caffeine is about half the amount as a cup of black coffee as well. So that's why I opt for it. Plus, there's 1,000 bajillion amazing benefits to matcha. High in antioxidants. It's great for your liver. It's just a wonderful. Chris is like, stop lying. It tastes like battery acid. It doesn't.
This is why I call it Kermit the Frog pee.
No, if your matcha tastes like dirt, it's because you're drinking a poor quality matcha. If it's bitter, matcha shouldn't be bitter. It should have a slight sweetness to it. you're most likely drinking a really poor quality matcha. So this is where the quality of the tea leaf really matters. We're not going to Costco and getting a jar of it for $12.99. That is going to taste like absolute garbage.
Yeah.
It should have a nice, bright, vibrant green. It should be a little bit sweet. It shouldn't be tasting bitter by any means. So I'll put my links for a couple of my favorite brands below. So matcha is one. Then you could also be looking at things like an herbal coffee alternative, right? That would have the chicory root in it, the dandelion, all of the different blends.
Like the dandy blend?
Like a dandy blend is lovely. Sip herbals is another great one. So if you're someone that doesn't do the barley extracts, then sip herbals is a delicious one as well. So I'll put that in the show notes. Or even making, like, Chris, how many latte recipes, like non-caffeinated latte recipes, are on the blog? Like, I feel like there's so many.
Oh yeah,
there's a stupid amount.
Just
because I love cozy drinks.
Switch it up. Like a latte is gonna have half the amount of whatever.
No, I'm not saying a latte with coffee, because I have a ton of like hot, like I like to call them lattes, like a hot chocolate or an elixir or whatever. And so what I've purposely done is on the blog, you're going to find a ton of hot drinks where you're like, okay, well, maybe I'm going to have like a mushroom cacao elixir in the morning instead of having my coffee.
But I even love that if people wanted to do that and put a little coffee in it as they're weaning.
Oh yeah, I see what you were saying.
So that they change. Remember, we have to change the profile, the palette. So yeah, go and grab some of those, and then you're still getting half the caffeine, but you're still tasting the flavor. And that's a nice way. And then you're like, hey, I kind of like this voodoo stuff that Katie puts on her blog. And next thing you know, you're like a latte connoisseur.
I actually, one of my first handful of jobs that I had is I worked as a barista at a local coffee shop in my hometown of Waterdown. I worked at the Jitterbug, and I got to make all of the fun drinks. I worked there for 5 years. So I'm a big fan of like hot drinks. That's why there's so many on the blog, because I worked at a coffee shop. Delicious. All right. So I'm not surprised we filled an entire episode with coffee, because it's such an important topic. And I think this allowed us to do a much deeper dive than it allows me to do on an Instagram carousel. So that's it. Any last parting words you want to add there, Chris Brown?
Team coffee. No, team coffee.
Team matcha. Go poll. Let me know in the DMs. Let me know.
Don't do it.
All right, guys. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you again on next Wednesday on the Clear Skin Chronicles. Thanks for hanging out with us this week on the Clear Skin Chronicles. We'll see you next Wednesday with a brand new episode. Remember to subscribe to the show and drop us a review. Sending glowing vibes your way, Katie and Chris.